Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, why is Buju Banton so vexed at Afrobeat? This came with a link. We'll watch the video and then we'll discuss it.
Out there. We have sat and we have watched reggaeton taking reggae music. They fuck with our music so hard and stealing our culture. I'm not knocking nobody, but you don't give us no respect, motherfuckers. Tell me one Afrobeat song that can uplift us. Uplift us, take us from... Kenya is suffering. The young men of Kenya are revolting. South Africa is on Sudan, South Sudan, you name it. But which one of these songs can I relate to for a peace of mind to tell me that I'm in the struggle and we are going to be better in the struggle, and even though the struggle is hard, we're going to overcome? Tell me. The greatest musician out of Africa was Fela Kuti, Lucky Dube from South Africa. We had Salif Keita. We have Youssou N'Dour. We have Baba Mal. Now, no one wanted to go beyond the pale of what those brothers was doing. I went to Africa in 1991 and I spent like 3 weeks constantly at the universities under baobab trees,
in Kenya,
educating people from Ghana, all over the continent about reggae music and dancehall. But I was happy when they came to their senses to realize that music is the bridge that's going to connect us. But what I was disappointed in, they didn't try to connect with Jamaica the Roots. They connect with everyone else except us.
You talking about Afrobeats?
Yes.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
So they connected with everyone else except us. But when we look at what they're doing, their music is not free in Africa. It's far cray.
I didn't know what to say.
Music need to free Africa. If I am all the way in Jamaica and my country and my people fight for free your continent with word, sound, and power, and you have the ability now, and all you're singing is fuckery, you don't sing a song to free Africa all now. Well, need them bringing this to the forefront of your mind, but we desire more from them. You want the money? Go get it. But what's going to be said about you later on and your posterity? You didn't make any impact. So reggae music still stands predominant. It is still the king's music.
Yes.
Tell me one Afrobeat song that can uplift us. Uplift us, take us from... Kenya is suffering. The young men of Kenya are revolting. South Africa is on Sudan, South Sudan, you name it. But which one of these songs can I relate to for a peace of mind to tell me that I'm in the struggle and we are going to be better in the struggle, and even though the struggle is hard, we're going to overcome? Tell me.
You know what? So, I don't think I can.
Reggae music.
Right.
Listen.
Right.
And you still expect us to kowtow and act like we take something from you? This is the king's music. Your music shall come and it shall go, because it has nothing to do with soul. It has nothing to do with building energy. Our music is time marker. You can remember when you went on your first date, when you had your first sex, when you marry your wife, when you go to the first dance. It's time marker, because it's the king's music.
Yes.
You can remember when you're happy. You can remember when you're sad.
Yes.
You can remember all the things, because there's a music to mark that time period.
Right.
But everyone wants to take from reggae. You want to ostracize us, underpay us.
Really?
Afrobeat is from Africa, but the influence, you know what I mean? But and I'm sure that the Afrobeat artists will say to you, oh, Afrobeat has nothing to do with Jamaica. And we'll say to them, our music has everything to do with Africa.
Right.
We don't dichotomize. We don't separate ourselves from Africa. No point, no time, no day. Because the drum in our music is what speaks to our soul. I think the drum in your music speaks to your soul. But what are you saying? It's important for you to, it's easy for you to have anybody to listen to you.
Right.
Just don't get that wrong.
Right.
But what do you have to say to them? There's the hard part.
I was thinking about Joanna. I was like, that's not uplifting. I was like, maybe I should close my mouth. Yeah.
It's easy for you to have the masses to listen to you, but what will you say to them? You know, we gone from people singing about the freedom that they desire, people singing about the hope of their nation rising to the apex, a hope of their people and the young man them realizing that this is a great nation and they need to take the bull by the horn, to someone who's to people want to plunge us back 45 years, 55 years to where it was peons. Now, if you look in sub-Saharan Africa, we see Africa rising up. The brain of Africa has become awakened from Niger, go right through. So we cannot continue in the trajectory like we don't know who we are.
Right.
And our music cannot continue to be uninspiring.
Right.
Simple.
Right.
Reggae music come from Africa.
Yeah.
The drum is just that we get a different way of speaking, and our idioms and the way our cadence come across is much different.
Right.
Because we're able to bend words, and we don't deal with English, we deal with Outlish. Yeah, because English you speak in, and I speak out.
I like that ending there. I always like Buju as an artist, and even when you listen to him being philosophical, like if you listen to his album Inner Heights, one of the greatest albums ever created, period, across any genre. Listen to it. It's kind of like Talking Blues, the Bob Marley album that they put out after his death. Yeah, I like when he breaks some stuff down, and a lot of people were up in arms a little bit about this. There's a video I saw, but I couldn't pull it up for the show tonight, but some young African entertainers actually responded to it. Maybe I'll do what Bakari does and pull up on my phone and play it over the speaker. But yeah, they were speaking about it, and they said something that I remember Trigger Happy saying in the chat some time back. They said basically that music, the kind of music that a Buju Banton would do, Bob Marley, etc., is old music. It's like their parents and grandparents' music. It's sad. It's they, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but this is what they're saying. They're saying they want to be upbeat. They want to be lit, as the youths them say. And I think there is something to that, in the sense of we haven't connected that struggle from back in the day to it's still an ongoing struggle. Afro Native World in the chat says it's a biased assessment. I get why people will see that too, because I'll be honest, I saw the whole interview. It comes across a little bit like you're upset that Afrobeat is kind of replacing reggae, particularly roots reggae. Well, actually all reggae, roots and dancehall. You're kind of upset that it's replacing it. It did come across that way, but let's talk about it. You guys in the chat, drop your comments, and we'll listen to those on the panel, and we'll try to interplay between the two. With that said, let me start out with Anthony. Anthony, I'm sure you're well-versed in reggae music as well, and Buju Banton and Afrobeat. What say you to what Buju had to say?
I mean, I know exactly how you feel, man. I can respect how you feel, because just think of this for example, I use this example. Now, like the music that I love, like the hip hop music, for example. The hip hop that I love, I love Public Enemy back when they first came out. You know what I'm saying? I love X-Clan when they first came out. All of the Conscious Brothers who talked about something. Okay, now, if I fast forward to today, I'm listening to Megan Thee Stallion, I'm listening to Sexy Red, Suki Hunter, and all these old trifling artists, with these trifling messages that they put out. And I'll be like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? What the hell? I mean, but the thing is, this is what sells now. You know what I'm saying? This is what the young people listen at. See, it's a disconnect between the young people, and the people of their generation, where the knowledge and everything didn't get passed down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because if you go back, okay, say roots reggae, for example. Say we in Jamaica in the 1960s, the late 60s, the 1970s. We know the things that were going on. This was the height of the so-called Cold War. And, you had the United States and the Soviet Union fighting over everybody's resources and trying to get everybody in their camp. And, and the artists, the reggae artists like Bob Marley and Jacob Miller, and with Israel Vibrations, all, the music that they sang, the music that they put out there came from that struggle, for that living experience that our people were going through at that time. Well, you know what? Right now, today, it ain't that good in Africa today. on the ground, like among the everyday people, it ain't that good among a lot of Caribbean people. It ain't that good among black people in America. No, we still suffer from some of those same situations. That produce the reggae music. Back that music with a message, or the hip hop music with a message. The same situations, but is that somewhere we didn't hand down the the information. We didn't hand down the knowledge to our young people that we should have, or however it happened. We didn't hand it down, or it got stifled. Where it did, it got stifled up because we went from roots reggae to dance hall. I remember when I first started hearing dance hall. Yeah, it's good. You could party and shake ass or something of it. But I mean, when I first started hearing dance hall, I said, man, this is the end of roots reggae. That's what I said to myself. This is the end of roots reggae. And man, I love reggae, man. I grew up on it. But I'm saying I knew it was the end of it, man. I mean, as far as like being the major force that it was, because you know how reggae was in the 80s. The 80s was the height of reggae. Okay. Fela Kuti's music, the music where a lot of Afrobeat artists, give credit to. Hey, we love Fela. You know what I'm saying? But they message, they message ain't nothing like the message of Fela. They basically like, it's just like, Afrobeat is a dance hall and modern and hip hop. And, it's all, they're not thinking about no social consciousness, you know what I'm saying? Or uplifting the people and, working for the people. This is about, I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm going to go out there and get this money, get this bag. You know what I'm saying? It's just, but I can understand this frustration, man. But it's just, it's a different day now. And I'm not saying it's right. Hey, I despise I despise this music today. I like hip hop. I like Burna Boy. I like Burna Boy. Burna Boy do some good music. But a lot of them, a lot of artists on the continent and our young people everywhere putting out some of this. They starting to put out some of the same old garbage that you hear here in the States, man, and everywhere else, But I can understand where you're coming from, man. And I know that sometimes it's a way you can say things that may come off and people will think that you hating on us. You know what I'm saying? But I understand where you're coming from, though, man. And I agree with him for the most part. I'll leave it at that.
Appreciate that, Anthony. Yeah, there's something he said that brings it back to me. It brings it back to being a bit of authentic of a critique. He says, how am I in Jamaica singing about the liberation of Africa? And you're on the continent. And you ain't singing about that. And that's been, if you pay attention to me, that's been one of my critiques of the continent is like, you talk about Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism on the continent is different than the Pan-Africanism that we here aspire to. Why is that? Where's the major movement? I'm not talking about the conversations, but the major drive, right? To connect from Africa to us out here in the diaspora. That's my issue. And I think he summed up that sentiment pretty well. I guess Camji dropped out. Let's welcome in our brother Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, and how's everybody on the panel doing tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for being here.
So,
what's up, Black Steel? What's up, brother?
Oni. So, I'm a big Buju fan. Actually, my first date with my son's mother was at a Buju concert back in 2001. So, when he mentioned about reggae music being timeless, he definitely that's funny. But my point, I agree with him. I think I agree with what he's saying. The music should speak to the conditions of the people, right? And I think reggae, initially when reggae started, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, reggae was very much protest music. It was music that spoke to the needs and to the frustrations that people felt, not just in Jamaica, but across the world. I think what made reggae so popular amongst Black people is that no matter who you were, if you were a Black person, you felt something from that music. I remember Peter Tosh saying, no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're African. And even though here I was, 16 years old, I felt that touched something in me to hear that, right? Even but Afro beats, it's more like feel good music. You got a nice beat, you can dance to it. You don't even understand what they're saying all the time, but the rhythm be kind of flowing, and the girls get in there and they shake it, they do the whine to it, and it's nice. It's nice, but outside of that, there's no deeper meaning and there's no deeper message to it. And I believe that it should be, right? And I guess that's what Buju's touching on. It's not there, but it should be. You shouldn't be afraid to speak truth to power. There's a time when even when hip hop first started, even though hip hop has strayed very far from its origins, when hip hop initially came out, hip hop was very much protest music. It spoke to the needs and the conditions of Black people, especially in the inner city, or in United States and throughout the world. But now, as it becomes commercialized and commodified, we start to see it's completely lost. It becomes sanitized. It loses that element of it that made it our music. And that's what happens, is that because we don't control it, once it starts to get popular, once the record executives and the streaming companies get a hold of the music, they sanitize it. They cleanse it of all these, revolutionary, thought-provoking elements. That's why Bob Marley's been reduced to just somebody who smokes weed, somebody who just wants to love everyone and feel all right, But the deeper elements of Bob's message gets completely left out. Same thing with hell, you can name any artist, really. You can name any artist like that. So I agree with what he's saying. I think that he's calling on those Afrobeat artists to step it up, to start to have more of a meaning within your music. Don't just, dance and have a good time and feel good. No, let's have some actual depth to your music. And it may not be popular, but I think it's important. Anybody want to put on Tim's, and I love Tim's. I'm sorry I missed her show when she came here, but I love Tim's, I love Burna Boy, I love all the Wiz Kid, I love them all. But let's have something that you can think about. If there's protests going on, and if I remember when there was, the police were beating on people in Nigeria, they were protesting some laws or whatnot in Nigeria. But yet, we're not hearing that from you guys. No one's talking about that. We're not hearing about what's going on in Kenya and what's going on in Burkina Faso. Like, none of that is coming up in your music. Now, I can go to Buju's catalog. We can pull up some dance hall. That's fine. But then he's also got some other stuff. I think he just wants you to expand. And people get upset about it. I mean, it is what it is. But I do think he is accurate in his analysis. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. In the chat, but Bakari said Buju Banton was the first concert he ever went to. He was in Richmond, VA in 1993, Club Ivy. I like to hear things like that. That's real cool. That's back when Buju was really doing dancehall at the time too. With that said, let me hear from Oni next. Oni, what are your thoughts on what Buju had to say?
Only Rasta can liberate the people. Just messing. All right.
Valleys.
Yeah, exactly. Only hills and valleys, boys. All right, let me stop. I mean, he does seem vexed, but I think what he's saying is valid. But I mean, I guess, like you said, sometimes they're doing their they do their dance hall too, because they like. Some people even differentiate between reggae and dancehall, So I remember one time I thought reggae and dancehall were the same thing, and then so I said I want to listen to dancehall, and they were like, "That's what you want to listen to?" So the thing is this, though: everybody's doing ratchet music, and Jamaica was doing ratchet music. Like generally speaking, Kingston, the capital of Jamaica, is considered a ratchet you know, like a ratchet country, not like African American ratchet, but like ratchet, you know. So, but at the same time, I also see what he's saying in the sense of, you know, you have conscious music and you have ratchet music, and you have artists who produce, you know, exclusively ratchet music. You have artists who produce exclusively conscious music, and you have artists who do a mixture. But I guess from Buju Banton's perspective, like the major songs coming out of Africa are not conscious, you know. And despite, and like he made a good point about bringing up Kenya and Sudan. Like, despite what's going on in Kenya and Sudan, there's no musical outcry for it, you know. And yet, you know, I would say, because I really, it's really something that, you know, we have to come to terms with. But music is an incredibly important genre. If you look at us as a species of people. So, you know, when we were talking earlier about the early hominids, you know, the Odavi Gorge and Oromo people, whomever, right? You know, the early hominids, the human species, from a, like, if you were to look at it from a biological standpoint, you know, music might be fundamental for us. Like, music might be, like, it might have been that we had attended regular concerts, you know, back in our pre-modern days. And of course, we've lost that part of us as we, you know, got into the urban environments and so on and so forth. For the most part, you know, we kind of lend it to the religious groups to do our music for us. But music is probably one of those natural biological inclinations that we have, you know, not as good as sex, obviously, but, you know, up there, you know, up there with communication, if you will. And so, you know, the question then becomes, you know, like the question really is, you know, if you look at music as some sort of biological necessity, right, which we don't tend to do, but if we did, right, should it only be ratchet? And if it's only ratchet, is that helpful or is that harmful? If it's ratchet, is it detrimental? You know? And I think that's what Buju is fundamentally saying. And with that, I tend to agree. It's like, yeah, if, you know, like, I think the song come out was like Jerusalem or something, and then, you know, you know, it's good. I don't know what they were saying in that one. I don't know what they were saying, but it's good. But it's like, yeah, but what about highlighting some of the struggle of African people? What about doing that? What about highlighting what's going on in Kenya, what's going on in Sudan, what's going on in the Congo? Like, if you have this giant platform, and then you know, humans have this necessity to hear from you, right? Why don't you just highlight what's going on in the Congo? I beg. And I think it is something to be frustrated about. It is something to be frustrated about, because certainly everybody wants dance music. Because like I said, we as a species probably used to have regular concerts where it was really fundamentally about dancing, you know? So yeah, if you give me music to dance, that's fine. But also, while you have my attention, while I recognize your genius as a musician, you know, tell me about what's going on in the world. You know, it's not just party and bullshit. You know, it's not just party and bullshit. And that's what it really comes to. And so I think, you know, once upon a time, you know, hip hop had a, you know, it was telling you about the world. It was giving you some geopolitics, you know. And then, of course, reggae, big on geopolitics. And I mean, I don't know any other languages, you know, any other language music, so I don't know what any other things do. But like, you do want to have that dance hall, you do want to have the so on and so forth. But like, please, I think it's okay to be frustrated if there's nothing about the Congo, in the music. Like, if and I don't know which Afrobeat is really specifying. Is that the Nigerian music or is that the South African music? But like, if neither of those countries are talking about the Congo, then yeah, people should be vexed, because what's going on in the Congo is very serious, and it has ramifications for for all of us. And it's like you really have, that is a real key to the conscious upliftment of our people, and it's just so underutilized. And you know, that I could say is the case. That's it.
Yeah, very well stated again, Oni. This is why I told y'all before. Oh, and by the way, shout out to 9 Obafemi from MCE. I saw him in the chat earlier. Hopefully he's still around to hear this conversation as well. But this is why I said, like, my attention has kind of gone more to like the creative side of things, and to really push a movement with creatives, because I think, like Oni just said and others, this music thing is fundamental. This music is fundamental to who we are, and there is obviously something has been changed, because there was a time, you go back 60s, 70s, there was a time where there's stuff going on in Niger and the Congo and stuff like that. There would have been like known songs, or at least a known song that we would have all been familiar with, talking about or alluding to what's going on in these places. And that's just not the case anymore. You know, even in Bahamian music, there's a classic song, Bono would know it, Going Down Burma Road, was about the Burma road riots back in the day. Like, people talked about what was going on. And again, to what Buju was saying, how is it that there's those of us out here and we know the songs that's talking about a liberation or a change for Africa, but we don't hear these songs coming out of Africa or that we know of? It's really strange. It's really strange. And again, there's that video I told you all I saw that was a response to Buju's discussion here by some young Afrobeats artists from the continent. And they were saying, well, it's like we view it as old music. Now, they did come around by the end of the video and said, you know, we agree with Buju. We do agree, but that's the sentiment. The youthful sentiment in the continent right now is they just want to like party and bullshit. It's just vibes. You know, there's a problem here. We lost that connection with the past, with what our folks was doing in the past. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but with that said, let's hear from Bahamian Conkman, Bwana Agaziki.
Yeah, so there is another. First of all, I think that Buju Banton is being extremely hypocritical, number one, and I think that he is being very short-sighted, number two, and I'll get to that in a minute. But Buju Banton has to understand that in America and also in certain parts of the Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, or whatever, you have this thing called freedom of speech. In America, you have almost complete freedom of speech. You almost could say anything on the radio, anything, and get your music put out there. In Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, you have relative freedom of speech. Back in the day when Bob Marley them was singing certain you know how much time Peter Tosh music was banned off of Jamaican stations? Because they know Peter Tosh, well, his music was extremely political. This is I believe that some of the reasons why Peter Tosh is not as well known as Bob Marley, you know, because Peter Tosh's music was really much more revolutionary than Bob Marley's own, you know, and a lot of his music was banned. You know, if you want to get your music put out there, you have government scrutinized content. They scrutinize content severely. In Africa, in many parts of Africa, they do not have the freedoms that we enjoy in this part of the world in terms of the content that we could put out there. How many times was Fela Kuti arrested? His mother was murdered. His mother was murdered by the government based off of some of the content and the music he was making. And he was hitting out against the government that he thought was horrible. you know, political, the ideas of freedom of speech in terms of being political in certain parts of the African world is frowned upon. You singing certain things in Museveni's government. I think this guy named Bobby Wine. I don't know if he was arrested because of his lyrics to his music, or maybe the president just didn't like him. But, you know, government scrutinized content. They don't have the liberties that we enjoy. Well, some of us enjoy in the Western world. That's why they have to be very careful of the content they make. You know, so the artists say, well, okay, if I tell the truth, I could get put in jail. Something is gonna befall me. So if I sing about, you know, party and bullshit, you know, maybe they'll be able to play this on the radio, and I could eat a food off of this, or I could get something to eat off of this. You know, I could pay my rent off of this love music or this nonsensical music, which really has no content to it, no harmful content to the government. I could eat some food off of this. You know, I could feed my family. So I think that these are things that Buju Banton need to consider when he's speaking on these kinds of issues. Another thing too is Buju Banton is a global statesman in terms of reggae music and black music to the world. And I think that he needs to be very, very careful, because in terms of how he talking about other genres of music, people put their heart and soul into the music they make. Now, you may not like it, but they put their heart and soul into music they like. And they can look at you side eye when you say, well, the music we making is empty. And I'm thinking, it's enough. I remember this Buju Banton song called "How Forget Your Body." He said, "Gal, me serious, me I forget you tonight. How forget your body even by gunpoint." He was Buju Banton when he was singing. So people looking at him square and like they look at him, okay, so you want a woman so desperate, you're gonna be ready to put a gun to her head to get her body. This is what you were singing about in your youth, but you had time to develop. Why don't give the African brothers time to develop as well? It's a way you could speak to brothers and say, hey man, you know, that music is what you sing about, but sometimes you have to put meaning to your music as well. But don't call my music fuckery, because these same young boys who may be looking up to you, now you're in down their music and call their music fuckery, things where they put their heart and soul into. They don't want to listen to you no more. They can say, well, Buju is a hypocrite. He was making these kinds of songs too. Not only that, the world knows conscious reggae music, but they also know dancehall music. Bounty Killer them was singing about killing people back in the 90s. You know, Beanie Man was singing about, all he sing about is woman and getting them. Sensima, who got the keys to my beam? This is nonsensical music. Why don't talk about that kind of dancehall music when you dissing Afrobeats? Because you can't point the finger at others when you live in a glass house. So talk about the dancehall artists first before you start talking about Afrobeats. You will start next to Beanie Man on stage. You will start next to a Bounty Killer on stage, but you can denigrate the Afrobeat people for basically singing empty music, just like the dancehall artists been singing empty music all this time too. Come on, man. Somebody can look at you kind of like with a jaundice. You saying this man being a hypocrite. This man being a big asshole hypocrite. So I just think that you have to be careful as a global statesman when you go around the world and when you try to make an impression. Yes, there are some things, you have some truths to what you're saying, but it's how it's presented. It's how it's presented. It's how it's presented. You know, you just can't talk crazy to people. Not only that too, Afrobeat ain't only Jamaican music, brother. Afrobeat is also soca music. It's also soca mixed up in that. And no African artists so far to say that we are conscious African artists. I'm sure they have people like that exist, but they don't say that they have a consciousness to their music and things like that. They don't declare themselves a certain way. They just making music. Now, you as an elderly statesman could have maybe informed these brothers, but I think it's how you present things to these people. I think it's how you present things to the global world. People who listening to you, people who looking up to you. You know, I think, but he did mention African artists like Fela Kuti. He mentioned many African artists who had black consciousness. Lucky Dube, who had a black consciousness view to them. I think that we'll see a return of that, but I think that there has to be some developmental stage, just like how Jamaicans develop as well into reggae, because they didn't start with reggae. They didn't start with black consciousness. No way. but they eventually develop into that and become a global music. Give Afrobeats time. Give them the same time you offering your own people. You know, I think that there should be some fairness across the board. But I have other issues with Buju Banton, you know, because me personally, as I feel, I find it strange that a man, and I'm trying to impugn the character because I love Buju Banton, but I'm not trying to impugn the character of Buju Banton. But I find it very, very strange that he was deported for selling drugs in the United States. You know, major drugs, 10 years in prison. How is it that this man was able to get back in America in such a short period of time? It made me say, It made me say, You know, I don't know. I don't know. But like I say, I just think that Buju Banton really need to exercise diplomacy when he's talking about other genres of music, because the other brothers in Nigerian hood starting out in the same level where he started at, and they, just as he made some missteps, they will make some missteps, but they'll eventually develop. And they look up to brothers like Buju and other Jamaican artists and other people like his genre of music or whatever. I think that he needs to be very diplomatic, because you don't want to ostracize people from listening to anything you have to say, even because some of the things you have to say may be good things to say. But I think that you shouldn't want to ostracize them by saying that music is fuckery. I think that that's a very undiplomatic way, especially on a public platform like this. You know, these people listening, pull Burna Boy to the side. I mean, many stages, I'm sure you have conversations with him with. You know, pull these artists to the side. They love Buju Banton. The world loves Buju Banton. The black world, they would listen to you. But to come on, Drink Champs, where rappers getting drunk, and talk about a genre of music in Africa is fuckery, and you haven't even touched a rap music yet. I think it's a horrible thing to do. I think it's very undiplomatic, but I'll leave it there. I'll leave it.
I too, and thank you for that one. I too, and reluctantly, because I don't like to have that kind of outlook, but I too side-eyed how quickly Buju was back in America, doing music and stuff too. But to be fair to Buju, he didn't denigrate. How should I put this? He did make the point of saying, you know, name me a song from Afrobeat. I don't think he was trying to make reggae look like it's pristine and its hands aren't dirty. I think what he was saying is that and it's kind of what Oni was saying. In a way, he's inferring that there's a balance there. Yeah, there's the fuckery in reggae and dancehall, but you can still hear even someone from Jamaica singing about what's going on the continent. Where's the reverse song? Now, some people in the chat said there is that music, blah, 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 but we're not hearing it, right? It's not getting to us for whatever reason, but out of a small, considerably smaller nation of Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean, you can hear conscious music being made. I think he did make that clear. So I don't think he was speaking as if, Jamaican music doesn't have its problems too. But I think he was inferring that there's the balance coming out of Jamaica. Where's the balance coming out of Africa? I wasn't the only one who had some issue with what Buano was saying. Zuli in the chat says, what is this man talking about? Well, Zuli came up, I guess, to find out. Zuli, first of all, how are you this week?
Yo,
and what are your thoughts here? Go ahead.
What's up? Everything's cool. I agree with what Buju said 100%. The difference between Afrobeat and Jamaican dancehall is that Buana mentioned Bounty Killer. Bounty Killer has mad dancehall songs talking about free the people. I don't know what Buana is talking about. Bounty have numerous songs talking about what's that song he's talking about? Bounty has songs talking about freeing the people and the poor people suffering in Jamaica. Bounty Killer has done a lot in Jamaica, giving back to the community, building schools and a lot of stuff. Buju, from his beginning, yes, he sung dancehall, he sung about women. Buju never say you're not supposed to talk about women, but if you look at Buju's catalog, there's a lot of songs about the people, about loving women, about loving black love, about fighting the system, and also about the stupid shit. What I think he's talking about is the balance. It's the balance, and also what Buju could give them advice, because Buju, first of all, reggae around Peter Tosh and Bob Marley, they brought in dancehall to destroy the revolutionary climate of reggae. Dancehall was only brought there just like they did to the rap with hip hop. So Buju may not want to say it, but he sees what's coming. So because African artists like Lucky Dube, Alpha Blondie, Fela Kuti, there's a lot of artists that speak about the people and about being righteous, but those people are not getting played. So maybe Buju is trying to warn them, because when I listen to Afrobeat don't talk about shit. Giving time. What are we talking about? And this is the problem with us. Give them time. Buju experienced it. The rappers experienced it. And it's telling you, this is what's coming for you. That music that's there to destroy the mentality or the righteousness of the people. Afrobeats don't talk nothing. I haven't heard one Afrobeat song. If I say the one that's popular or the one that we hear about, it's all about the same thing. They're adopting the drill music. Oh, I got Gucci, I got diamonds, I got Bentleys. Boy, you talking about diamonds, the same diamonds that they have your own people digging and people dying? So for somebody to say, oh, Buju is a hypocrite, hypocrite what? If somebody's probably trying to warn you about what's going to happen to you with that type of music, instead of looking at it this way, we're looking at it, oh, he's this. My man said Buju can't, a lot of people, that whole case, oh, he sold drugs, mad people don't believe that shit was real. And if he did, okay, I guess you could say that's you could hold that against him. But what does that have to do with him saying that Afrobeats don't really talk about nothing, about uniting? Well, he's really saying that the African continent is not really talking about uniting with us on this side. That's what he's really saying, that people don't want to talk about. So for somebody to say, and that song, and that whole interview, yeah, I agree. Maybe what Buana said something, how he got back here that soon, or he spent 15 years in jail or whatever. I don't know. But at the end of the day, what he said, I give Buju grace because of his catalog. His catalog, and if you listen to his catalog, this man has been nothing but and his music. I'm not saying Buju didn't talk about sexually explicit stuff from time to time. Yes, he did. But the majority of his catalog is about the people. So for somebody to say, Afrobeat, most of the Afrobeat artists are not talking about shit. It's about bling bling, about partying, drugs, and all of that. So if Buju is saying this, maybe we should take it as a warning. So this is how they're gonna use Afrobeat to bring a type of mentality to the continent. That's all I have to say.
I appreciate that. Julie, thank you for that. KW7 in the chat is kind of echoing. Zuli said Buju was set up. That case was entrapment, which is what it does seem. The case itself seems like it was just entrapment, but it seemed like it was playing off of some Jamaican braggadociousness as well, and Buju was on that braggadocious dumb shit. But yeah, I think Zuli picked up on the same thing I picked up on, which is, he's basically saying, where's that balance? I'll let Buana respond because a lot of that was directed towards Buana. Buana, you want to respond? Bonnie, you muted if you're speaking. All right, I guess Bonnie doesn't want to respond. Does anyone have any last thoughts on this prompt before we move on to topic number 3 tonight?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say I forgot. Oh yeah, my first concert was KRS-One. That's it. Yeah, that's all. I know it's a little bit thing, but yeah.
All right, cool. Let's go to shoot the breeze topic number 3 since there's no other comments, I guess. For time's sake, we're gonna try to end around 11. So we'll get to shoot the breeze topic number 3, which says, in the instance of a war between an African nation and America, who will the Black American pick? This came with a link. Oh, and by the way, Trigger Happy, that podcast I was talking about, it's a clip from the In My Opinion podcast. I'm not sure which recent episode it was, but if you look at the Drink Champs episode,
Coco, can you hear me?
you could probably, I can hear you now.
Oh, wonderful. So I just wanted to respond to some of my brother's statements, because I sure that that Razuli know this song called, well, he know about Driver. Driver was a big hit song all over, the continental United States. Buju singing about sending packages, implying sending packages of drugs from one place to the other place. So I'm saying, if you are gonna indict a group of people for singing about certain things, it doesn't matter if there's balance where he's singing about raping and sending packages and then singing about divine music. It doesn't matter, because you're putting out there what you want to put out there, but you're saying these people shouldn't put out certain kinds of music. Young people gonna look at you side eye. They're gonna look at you side eye. Yes, he has made great music. Yes, the majority of his catalog was absolutely phenomenal music. But you have other songs where he's singing some ridiculous things. And some people say, well, he made these songs when he was 18, 19, or whatever. When he made Drive, he was a big man, relatively a big man. And also too, let me say this too. When you're talking about genres of music, Fela Kuti had sons. It wasn't just Fela Kuti, and after Fela Kuti, no other person started making Afro beats. Sean Kuti been making, I think he has like 8 albums so far. Many of his music is conscious music, just like his father, just like Damian Marley make music with his like his daddy. Sean Kuti been making conscious music. He's a younger guy. He's been making conscious Afrobeat music for years. Not only that, he has made connections with rappers. Many Black Thought, Common, conscious rappers who rap on this part of the world. He's already to make these kinds of connections. Why don't you talk about the people who are actively engaged in positive kinds of music too? You can't indict a whole group of music and say it's fuckery, name one. So I'm thinking you as a musician should know who Sean Kuti is, because you mentioned his daddy. The man has made 8 different albums. The man, Sean Kuti, always on the internet talking about reggae music. He's a very popular person in Nigeria. So why don't you know any of his songs? Because he sings about conscious music just as you do. Why you don't know about him? I don't know. And he's much younger. I think Sean Kuti may be in his late 30s. Even I don't know. I just have an issue sometimes because, like I say, people are gonna look at you side eye. They're gonna look at you side eye. And as a diplomat, you should be more diplomatic. And when you're talking about these kinds of issues and matters, especially when your hands ain't so clean. That's all I'm saying. But I'll leave it there, Coco.
Any other last thoughts from the panelists so far for this topic?
I have some thoughts on this.
Let's welcome in Takru, who's been in the chat last few
greetings.
weeks. Takru, sorry. How are you this week?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. A bit busy, but I have some thoughts on this Afrobeats thing. I'm not a full-on musician professionally, but I do engage in music a lot more than the average person. And I'll say music is a reflection of your psyche at the time. So whatever it is you're thinking can be expressed in music. And I think it's a bit unfair to only want to express a certain range of the human experience. Because, and someone who's written songs, the moment you think or feel a certain way, it gets expressed in your music. You would be surprised how easily it flows. So these people singing about killing others, you know, maybe that's a part of their life, or it's a desire, you know, anger, murderous intent, and so forth. It's all part of the human experience. And I would say that it's not that these groups are unpopular, you know, these conscious people. It's just that negativity is dominant in this world. And thus, negative music is going to be flourishing. Whereas conscious music, not everyone wants to be conscious all the time. So a lot of people are engaging in stress relieving activities, right? Either through substances or the way they live their lives. So, but I would also like to say, as a finishing point, a lot of the things people complain about now were way worse in the past, or as bad. Because if you look at Fela Kuti, for all his, you know, inspirational messages, some of the things he did on stage, like going on stage in underwear, vigorously humping his female fans. I mean, we don't think that's respectful to himself or the black woman, right? But that's what he was doing on stage, and so forth. So I would say it's always been there. That's my take.
Appreciate that, Attack Crew. Let's see if anyone has any follow-ups to Attack Crew had to say. All right, Attack Crew, just hang out with us as we go to Sugar Beast topic number 3.